Everybody, welcome back to another edition of Statistically Speaking, a UteNation podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Utah's upcoming matchup with Kansas State, a matchup that everybody was looking forward to at the start of the year, thinking that there could be conference championship implications on the line. And one team is still in the picture for that. The other one couldn't be further from the truth. And before I kick over to the fellas on the call, it's one of those where we can talk about this. It is a lot of similarities to Kansas State this year when it comes to Utah last year. It's an unfortunate thing to see on something again that was going to be such a big matchup when we were kicking in to this 2025 football season. So I'm your host, Alex Markham. Got Dustin Birch and Joe Silversweig on the call here with us this week. Matt Patton is out in, I believe, Florida, right, guys? Visiting the family. So, guys, I mentioned it on the other Statistically Speaking, okay, the wrap-up one. We interviewed a Kansas State guy. There's nothing positive coming out of his mouth. He talked about the running back. He just slammed him like the entire time. And he said there's nothing behind it. He talked about the receivers. They're going to be starting at least one walk-on wide receiver. Okay. 6 of their top 7 guys coming into the season are out with injuries. Avery Johnson, their quarterback, is not what anybody expected coming into this season. It is not a Kansas State team that anybody envisioned. Anybody at the start of this year. So take me through this, guys.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, this Kansas State team really feels a lot like last year's Utah team, right? Conference champion implications, expectation is conference championship at the very least, ranked 17th, and then their offense is 90th in total offense, 80th in passing offense, 89th in rushing offense, 88th on third down, 80th in turnovers. They're just offensively, and the defense is a little better, but offensively they are playing really, really poorly. Now they're scoring a little bit better than they're moving the ball, about 64th in points, but that is still a C to go above all of their Fs. I mean, it is a bad offense, and feels, I think, a lot like last year's Utah team felt to Utah fans. I don't think Kansas State is the most disappointed fan base in the Big 12. I think Oklahoma State and Colorado probably both are, for different reasons, more disappointed than Kansas State, because Kansas State might go to a bowl game. But I think Kansas State fans are very frustrated both with the way the team has looked and that the bounces just haven't gone their way. Because they also, other than the Texas Tech loss, which was a blowout, their losses are 3 points, 3 points, 6 points, and 1 point. So they very easily could be a one-loss team right now, very much in the hunt for the conference title, despite all of the bad play. But 5-5 is probably fair for them based on what their stats look like.
Dustin, I'll tell you this. I agree with you on Oklahoma State. Okay. When it comes to Colorado, man, those guys are just happy over clicks in the flash. We all know that.
No, those fans are upset. They're not reasonable, but they're upset that their team is 3-7. They're out of a bowl game already with 2 games to go. They're madder than Kansas State.
The Prime fans, right? The Colorado fans, not the Prime fans.
The Prime fans are extra upset. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's nothing good to say about it. It's the offense bottom just absolutely fell out. They're down at 5.7 yards per play. I think that if you'd asked it to be projected early on, you probably would have said in that like 6.7 range. And that's the difference from a ranking perspective between Texas A&M at 16 and Kansas State where they are here in the 60s. So it's just been a terrible year. They haven't performed and you're always wrong about somebody in one direction and wrong about somebody in the other direction. For me, I was wrong about Utah. I did not expect Utah to perform as well as they have, especially on offense. I think that we keep we keep having to readjust our priors when it comes to how many points we think that this football team can score, because they just score more and more and more, and against good defenses, not elite defenses, but good defenses. And sometimes you're wrong the other way, and that's the case with Kansas State. I mean, we thought they had football players that they just don't have on that team, and I think you're absolutely right, and your prior about the injuries, that's always going to happen. That's always going to be a key part of any team story, especially when they're falling on the other side of it, and the teams that get injury luck, knock on wood here, but like Utah with mostly healthy players, that's how you get on the other side of the coin, right? You don't lose as many people. But it's a shame, because as we were talking about in our last episode, we really wanted to see an opportunity towards the end of the season for the Utes to really impress the playoff committee, and this was.
I think the Big 12 scheduled it this way, hoping for that
on purpose,
yeah.
Right? We're gonna see, right? We're gonna see this matchup between these two heavyweights who are both in playoff contention, who are both in the conversation, and instead we got the playoff contention games 6 weeks ago, and this one's a dud. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think this might be Utah's biggest conference spread. I have to check the Colorado game if they were below 17
the biggest spread. I think I heard it's the biggest spread they've had all year, next to Cal Poly.
Right. Yeah. So within. Let me look that up.
Yeah, and while you're checking that too, I mentioned the offense, but the defense did one of the most amazing things that I have ever seen, which is that their total stats, their raw stats, not adjusted stats, but their raw stats, they are 77th in total defense, 76th in scoring defense, 76th in passing defense, and 76th in rushing defense. I've never seen it. That is insanely narrow margin of pretty below average play. But they are Utah's kind of all over. 35th in total, 10th in scoring, 23rd in pass D, 57th in rush D. Kind of, good, solid numbers, but at different levels. Kansas State is the 76th best team at everything when it comes to defense.
And statistics, you have reliability and variability, and it's a very reliable. Very good at missing the dartboard every single time they throw a dart instead of
in the same way
in the center, right? But yeah, I just checked. They were Utes were 14-point favored against Colorado. They were 13.5 against West Virginia, 24 against Wyoming. So this is the largest spread of the season within their conference play. And I think that the game is really going to bear that out. It's really hard to pick the Utes not to cover a spread, especially at home. They are they've lost against the spread.
They've covered every win
at home, except Tech, and they're gonna win this one. That said, this is the worst line for somebody who wants to bet on Utah, I think, of the entire year. This is, to me, this is a good line. When I say good, that means Vegas has set it well. It's really close to that 50-50 spot where you would expect it to be. You can see this whole curve is north of zero. Like, Utah is going to win this game. It's just a question of how much by. But my statistics think that it's a slightly better bet for Kansas State to cover, which is remarkable to say. But it just means that Vegas is sort of catching up to these, because we've seen a lot of these lines swing, and that's not what Vegas likes, right? When lines are swinging, it means that they've set them in a way that they're not getting 50-50 bets, and they want 50-50 bets because all they want is for their 10% vigorous. That's their profit margin. That's what they want. They don't want to have a bunch of money on one side and win the bet. They want to have it be 50-50 down the middle. And so that's why those lines swing. So they're moving it this way because they're tired of swinging these Utah lines and want to have it there. And that's why this line is so high, just because Utah's performing at a incredibly high level. When it comes to score, my gut says Utah's going to beat it. They've been playing better than I think they have historically over the course of the season, playing some of their best football. Your news about injuries, Alex, I think takes that. So in terms of what I'm going to pick, I think I'm going to pick Utah to really blow these guys out, and I think 45-24, like a really comfortable win. Up a couple scores at halftime, and then just maybe another score margin. Quite likely with the second string by the time we get to the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think Penn State
real
puts up
quick,
24.
Dustin, real quick, because I don't recall Joe mentioning what the statistics were on this, just because I haven't it up on the screen, so just so that we can kind of put it into context for what he was saying with everybody that's just listening as opposed to watching, right? The Joe's metrics have Utah winning 91% of the time. That's an insane thing to actually think, when you sit back and look at it, right? And then, you guys tell me on this, okay? But the fact that it's, a little different where Utes beat the 17.5 spread 48% of the time, that more so tells me that there's kind of some of the uneducated bettors that are out there that are just trying to do the parlays and the pick'em stuff. And it's like, oh, Utah, Kansas State is a name brand school, and not paying enough attention to certain things and maybe wanting to try to pick that upset. So, I mean, you guys tell me on that, but that's my read on that.
So a lot of fan bases think that way. BYU's in particular, they're like, oh, the line's always bad on BYU because BYU fans don't bet. Vegas doesn't do that. I lived in Vegas for over a decade. They are very good about setting these lines so that all of the professional sports bettors in Vegas, they can split those dudes who do this every week, every day of every week, 50-50. They really want to split those professionals as close to 50-50 as they can. And then the randos who are in betting, they don't get a ton. You don't get a ton of bets on Utah, Kansas State from randoms. You get them mostly from professionals. Random bettors that are just tourists bet on the NFL a lot and bet on the NBA a little bit. But that is where most of those bets will come. It is professionals that bet on college football, college basketball, NHL, those kind of bets. It's why the amount that they'll take on a lot of those games is smaller, because it's just they can't do as much work. But no, 17.5 is that they're hoping that a bunch of people have seen Utah win by 40 or 30 or 27 the last couple of weeks. And those guys are going to go, oh, geez, I really want to bet Utah, but 17.5 is a lot of points. So I'll put it on Kansas State this week because Kansas State's solid. They've only got a couple of one score losses. They're better than their record looks. They're just trying to split those voters. It's not so much that they're looking for dummies to parlay it. And like Joe said, they hit it pretty close to where his line would have been if he'd been the one set.
Yeah, I think the thing that you want to focus on with this is dollar volume of these bets. I mean, you're absolutely right that you do see people coming into town and doing that. I think sometimes that's happening enough that you'll see it move a line with like people are close to Vegas. So sometimes USC or UCLA, sometimes you feel like there's like dumb money bets that move the line a little bit. But if you or I go to Vegas, we might bet $50 or $100 on these games. But these pro bettors have, they might have a $30,000 bet, and they're betting on 6 or 7 different games that they feel are the best lines, and they're dropping 5,000 here, 5,000 there. And so it doesn't take a lot of smart money bettors to just overwhelm any kind of fan bets. So they're really focused on those smart money bets. And then if they pick a bad line that all the smart money it feels really good about, then they're going to see a huge dollar volume on one side or the other of that line, and that's what scares them, right? Because what they don't, like I say, what they don't want to have happen is, they've got 70% of the bets are on one side of the line, and then they lose. That's what they don't want to have happen. They want to be right there in the middle of that 50-50 spot, and they're really focused on smart money. Guys like me, if I did it, show up and are doing all that with their spreadsheets and going to do that one, and that one this week, and then a different four. And I think Dustin's spot on. I love the Utes. You love the Utes. Dustin loves the Utes. Most people don't know who the Utes are and aren't paying attention to this game. As high ranked as they are, as important as it is, as big as the playoffs are, your average rank and file sports fan, can name 4 college football teams and only watches them. So it's
and neither Utah nor Kansas State is one of those teams.
No, right? Yeah, right. If they're playing Alabama, maybe you'd see those kinds of things happen. And that's an area maybe where you do see lines move for that, where like, let's say Utah's playing Alabama, they're both ranked really high, and Utah is a 7-point favorite, right? In a situation like that, there's going to be a lot of dumb guys showing up, drinking a bunch of whiskey and betting on Alabama, and they'll factor that into the line.
Yeah.
So Joe, you gave your prediction. I don't think you gave your prediction yet, did you? I can't remember.
I didn't. So I do want to mention there is one thing that Kansas State has been very good at this year, and it's turnovers. They are 4th in the nation in forcing turnovers, to force 12 fumbles that they've recovered. They've recovered 12 fumbles and have forced 12 picks. Utah's solid at that, kind of in the mid-50s. Utah doesn't turn the ball over, but Utah gets behind on the turnovers this week. This game's going to be a lot scarier than it otherwise would be. But I will say, generally, Utah's been very good at keeping an eye on the ball, keeping their hands on the ball. And Kansas State's offense is very, very, very bad. So I think Utah wins and covers, but I think for the first time in a while, I'd say you take the under. The total right now is about 53. So I'd say Utah 34, Kansas State 13.
Yeah. I would say mine. I'm gonna save mine for the 48-hour rule that we'll be doing though. So
when I see a team that's got a lot of fumble recoveries, I see a team that's been getting really lucky, and that luck is likely to run out. Fumble recoveries are
they've also got 12 picks.
Like that is what makes football is that weird, funny shaped ball that can bounce just absolutely any way, and there is no way to know which direction it's going to go. And that property of the ball means that fumble recoveries is just like whatever guy is standing there with slack jawed with his hands out. Like the one thing that you do see is sack strips. So teams that get a lot of sacks tend to recover more fumbles. But with Kansas State, you're not seeing that. So if they're relying on lucky bounces of fumbles, that luck's going to run out.
I also, before we close, Alex, I do want to give a shout out to Utah's rushing day, because after 380 yards last week, Utah is now 2nd in the nation in rushing yards, behind only Navy.
There you go. That's a big deal.
Kyle's probably very, very, very happy.
That's a big deal. And what I love is it's literally this is what Utah's gonna do. Try to stop it. You're gonna have a rough time trying to stop it. And so that's what's been fun to watch this year, because what they're going to do, and they keep racking up the yards. They keep racking up the points. They keep getting the, solid chunk plays from a rushing standpoint, but also those huge ones, and that's, I'll tell you this. I wasn't expecting as many big rushing touchdowns as Utah's had this year. It's been a really fun offense to watch, other than, guess what, guys? There's still no deep ball. As soon as Utah can add that,
there's
nothing. My God!
I don't know. That's why I say if I could just pluck one player out of like history and drop him in, it would be like Megatron, right? Like give me that just perfect prototype.
I'll even take one NFL Utah player. Give me Steve Smith or a Dyson.
Yeah, but it is frustrating because it is the one thing that limits them. But man, there's something about those long running plays that must be so demoralizing though. Like imagine how it feels to be one of those defensive tackles and you turn around and you're just seeing, Bird Ficklen's numbers get smaller and smaller and smaller. You're like, here we go again. Everybody back on the field. I mean, it's brutal, and the Utes have really made everybody almost regret coming to play them. So I certainly think that's going to happen this week. Kansas State is going to wish that they just hadn't showed up.
You said that perfectly, man. Like Zach and I were talking on the post game reaction, and he just can't get over all these long runs where it's like nobody is even near the guys for yards and yards and yards. Like they bust past it like 5 yards off the line of scrimmage, and nobody is near.
Utah is, I think, 1 or 2 in the nation in yards before contact, as opposed to the last couple of years where Utah's been 1 or 2 in the nation in yards after contact.
That's one hell of an offensive line. And play call.
They're doing a very good job. It helps when you have 6 or 7 of them on the field at once.
Man, and you've got 5 offensive linemen that are starting right now that are at minimum going to be in NFL training camps at the end of this season. So that's impressive. You got 2 of them that are probably first round picks. One of them, Spencer Fano, could go, I'm going to say top 5. I've seen some mocks put him at number 1. I'm just going to go ahead.
I have heard
if that happens.
They put together like a nice run in the playoffs. Maybe
that Lomu might be the better NFL prospect, which is crazy.
Well, and that's a conversation for another day. But I mean, where Spencer has him right now is Spencer's got that extra year. He's got that extra footage.
Yep. But a year from now, if Lomu stays, he might end up with a higher draft spot.
I'll tell you guys this, and then let's close it. All right. If Lomu, when he puts in his papers to see where they project him in the draft, if he gets a second round grade, he's most likely coming back. Right now, though, every single damn mock out there has him in the first round. So I don't expect that, but that is something to pay attention to that could happen.
Yeah, and mocks aren't scouts, so.
Exactly. All right, guys. Well, appreciate it as always. Looking forward to another fun game where, Utah should be piling up the points again, So we'll see if that's going to be Devin Dampier leading it. We'll see if it's going to be Bird Ficklin. That's a little up in the air right now. Even at that, if I was to tell you guys that, I want just a quick answer from each of you, and then let's close this. With me telling you that, okay, if it is Bird, does your prediction even change?
No.
Yeah, Bird Ficklin's worth maybe 2.5 points difference. I would say probably downward. I would maybe move my prediction down to
that's worst case scenario too, right? Because
that's Bird Ficklin. Bird Ficklin starts the game 2.5 points down, and it's not even because I don't think Bird Ficklin is. I mean, he's incredible, super dynamic, but I think
just because he's a true freshman.
Yeah, and he does the most for the offense when he's not starting. Right, that's when he's at his most dangerous, and so having that, thunder and lightning kind of thing, I think is when the Utes are at their best. Anytime you take a player out of the game, you're going to lose points from my models, right? Like that's always negative. It's never a positive thing, but very slight. He's a great player. I just don't want him running as many times as he would run in a game like this because I don't want him getting dinged up. I want him healthy. And when you break into the secondary like that, you sometimes get hit going fast, and that's when those injuries can start to pile up. And even if you just were to lose a step, that would be bad.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap this. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us and listening. I want to continue to encourage everybody to hit that like and subscribe, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Apple or Spotify. Thank you for coming along for the journey with us. It's only going to keep getting better and better. I know all of us keep saying that. Head over to UteNation.com as well. Join today with promo code all caps Ute50. Lots of great content coming on that. Signing day is going to be coming up, so got some things in the work. It's going to be a fun time. Even when it's off season, it is not off season anymore when it comes to football. And the beauty of it is Utah still has a lot to play for too. Well, teams like Kansas State, it's who knows if they even want to show up on Saturday. So, well, fellas, again, thank you. Always a pleasure. Appreciate you guys. And man, you guys are usually so damn spot on. So see you guys next week.
See you.